My first experience with ecstasy was rather quick and unplanned. I had gone over it in my head a billion times. I had read up on it, and I had asked my more experienced peers dozens of questions. But the night I actually did it, I felt like everything happened in one big rush. It was only last Friday night, November 19, 1999, when I made my first debut at Area 51. My very first visit to a club and my very first E. I went with a couple of my guy friends. One was 18, the other 17 like me. We had to get other people's IDs in order to get into the club. The 18-year-old drove me there, and along the way he asked me if I'd like to try it. After I had agreed, he began going over what would happen and how I might feel. He frequently referred to the experience as rolling. I'm still not quite sure if that meant being on E or what. But we arrived at the club at 1 a.m. I took the pill at 2 a.m. It was quite dark and I was trying to be discreet, so I didn't get a good look at the pill. I just knew it was white. My supplier told me to put it in my mouth and bite it in 2 pieces, then swallow the pieces. He was chewing his all at once. The small bit that I tasted was awful. I don't know how he managed to chew up the whole thing. Then he told me to walk around, and when I started feeling funny, to come tell him. Well, I walked out of the back room we were in and I ran smack into my cousin. I was so happy to see him, and he was overly surprised to see me inside this club. I had a split-second thought that he'd find out I had taken E and get mad, but I quickly dismissed this because I didn't want to get myself into a worried frame of mind. About 20 to 25 minutes after I had taken it, I started to feel kind of dizzy and floaty. I found my supplier and let him know. He handed me a lollipop and told me to suck on it. This was an amazing feeling. I still cannot describe it. It was totally different from anything I have experienced. I felt very good at this point, so I wandered about the room, letting the music pound in my ears and creep into my mind. I spotted a guy who I absolutely adore standing near the dance floor, and I had this urge to just hug him. So I did, and he was just lovely and he hugged me back. This felt fantastic. I wanted to hug everybody in the place, and I wanted to know if they were feeling as good as I did. I was just having the best time. I spotted my cousin again, and he took one look at me and asked me if I had taken anything. I just laughed and said yes. Not meaning to, but I couldn't help but say yes. Luckily for me, he said he did it too, and he gave me a super big hug. I felt even better by the minute. Closing parenthesis. I went back to my supplier. He rubbed Vicks under my eyes and on my chin and cheeks. This wasn't as grand as some people say it is, but it did feel kind of good. Now the back rub I received, it was bliss. I felt all tingly afterwards. Very, very nice. By now I had decided to pay my cousin a visit again. I walked in and I saw him rush out of the club in a huff. My heart did a weird little dropkick. I sensed something was wrong. I found his roommate and asked what was up. He pulled me to the side and explained the situation. This made me worry about my cousin even more. I felt my happiness starting to not be too fun anymore. I actually was feeling normal again. Then in the midst of our talk, I see a bunch of people in black pouring into the club. They have black ski masks on and "police" written in big white letters on their shirts. It's a raid. My first club night, my first experience, and joy, my first raid. So added to my upset cousin, I have the police poking around while I stand there with an ID that isn't mine and a still dazed mind. Anyway, to make a long experience short, I was pretty much calm with the police. I was mainly paranoid for my cousin. The cops made us line up and show IDs. Fortunately, they thought the girl on the one I had looked enough like me. And when I got outside, I saw my cousin and he had been crying, and I couldn't control myself, so I did too, and we hugged and cried on, then sat in the car and talked forever. Everything was patched up and my first experience was dead. Conclusion? I woke up with a killer headache. So basically, from my opinion, is a lovely drug and I enjoyed it. Until it got interrupted. Just use carefully, and it's better to not use all the time. Happy and safe raving.